welcome to Whispers of Ink. I'm Machado de Assis, and now I will read one of my stories.
Let's start with the book The Oracle, which is part of my novels collection. Chapter 1. Back in those days, I met a man whose life showed just how powerful bad luck can be when it decides to chase after someone. Leonardo, that was his name, had started out as a schoolteacher, but things didn't go well. Within a year, he lost almost everything and was left with only 3 students. He tried for a government job next. He got the recommendation letters he needed, and even voted against his own beliefs just to get ahead. But when success seemed certain, the whole ministry resigned, as was common back then, and his chance vanished. Then his political party came back into power. But by now, Leonardo was seen as suspicious because of that earlier vote, and his application was turned down. With help from a family friend, he opened a small business. However, between bad luck and dishonest employees, the business failed. When his creditors agreed to take less than what he owed over a long, unclear period, Leonardo could only raise his hands to the sky in relief. He had some smarts and, more out of need than passion, started a literary newspaper. But most of his subscribers were the kind of people who liked to read without paying. After 5 short months, the paper died a quiet death. Meanwhile, the party he had betrayed and suffered for was back in charge. Leonardo approached them, reminding them of his sacrifices and asking for their help. But gratitude isn't a strong point of political groups, and he was passed over for others who had better election connections. Through all these setbacks, Leonardo never truly lost faith in fate. Each blow hurt, but once it hit, he picked himself up and tried again. He held on to a line he once read, though: "I can't remember where fortune is like a woman. She gives into persistence." Leonardo was getting ready to make another attempt at striking it rich when he met Cecilia B., the daughter of a businessman named Atanasio B. The young woman had 2 main attractions: a pleasant face and a clean fortune of 100 contos in ready money. She was the apple of her father's eye. Rumor had it that she had only ever loved one man, Henrique Pease, a Navy officer. Her father had blocked the relationship because he disliked the young man. But it seemed Cecilia hadn't loved Henrique all that deeply, since she only cried for 1 day and then woke up the next morning, as cheerful and fresh as if she hadn't just lost a fiancé. To say that Leonardo fell in love with Cecilia would be a lie. I value truth above all, especially when it comes to facts and feelings. But I must also say that Cecilia did leave some impression on him. What truly captured Leonardo's heart and changed his life forever was the 100 contos she brought as a dowry. Leonardo didn't hesitate to thank fate, which had treated him so poorly until then, for finally throwing such a fortune into his arms. What impression did Leonardo make on Cecilia's father? A good one. No, better than that: excellent, even wonderful. As for the daughter, she greeted him with polite indifference. But Leonardo believed he could win her over in time, especially since he already had the father's approval. Either way, he canceled his trip north. Atanasio's favor grew so strong that he began treating Leonardo like a regular guest at the dinner table. Without knowing it, Leonardo was stepping into a role he hadn't planned for. Soon enough, he became a familiar face in the household. One day, Atanasio called Leonardo into his study. With a fatherly tone, he said, "You've shown that you deserve my trust. I see that you're a good young man, and from what I hear, you've had a hard time." "It's true," Leonardo replied, unable to hide a joyful smile that spread across his face. Leonardo stood there, his heart pounding, as Mr. Atanasio looked at him with quiet affection. "I've thought this through," Atanasio said. "I've decided to give you what heaven did not give me, a son." "Oh," Leonardo whispered, surprised. "Wait," Atanasio added gently. "You already are my son in affection. Now I want you to become one in action, by helping in my business. From today, you have a job in my shop." Leonardo felt disappointed at first. He had hoped the old man would offer him his daughter's hand in marriage. Instead, he received only a job. But then he thought again. A job was no small thing. It was, in fact, what he had come searching for after so much worry. And maybe, just maybe, this could lead to marriage later. So he calmed himself, and with deep gratitude, took the old man's hands and kissed them. "Oh, thank you," Leonardo said. "You accept, then?" asked Atanasio. "Oh yes, of course." Atanasio started to rise from his chair, but Leonardo, suddenly bold, asked him to stay seated. "Wait," Leonardo said. "There's something I must tell you." "What is it?" Atanasio asked, curious. "I don't want to hide anything from you. You've been so kind to me that I must be completely honest. I accept your generous offer, but with one condition." "What condition?" "I love Donna Cecilia with all my soul. Every time I see her, my love grows stronger. If you truly wish to welcome me into your family, as you do into your home, then I accept everything with joy. But if not, I will suffer in a way no man should bear." To his credit, Leonardo had guessed right. He had sensed in Atanasio a man who wanted to give him every happiness. And he was right. When Atanasio heard these words, he opened his arms wide and pulled Leonardo into a warm embrace. "My boy," he said, "if there's anything I want, it's this." "My father," Leonardo cried, hugging the man who would now truly be his father. It was a touching moment. "For a long time," Atanasio said, "I've seen how Cecilia moves you. I've prayed quietly for this happy match to happen. I believe nothing will stand in our way now. My daughter's a thoughtful girl. She will return your love, I'm sure. Shall I speak to her today, or should we wait?" "Whatever you think best," Leonardo replied. "Would you be honest with me for a moment? Do you have Cecilia's love?" "I can't say for sure," he replied. "I think she doesn't dislike me, at least. Then you'll find out what's going on. Anyway, my opinion will count for a lot in this matter. She's obedient." "Oh, don't force her." "Forced? No. She's serious and shall see that it's best to marry a smart, hard-working man." "Thank you." They parted ways. The next day, Atanasio was supposed to start the new employee in his position. But that same night, the old man brought up the subject of marriage with his daughter. He began by asking if she had ever thought about getting married. She said she hadn't, but she said it with a smile that made her father sure enough to tell her he had received a formal proposal from Leonardo. Cecilia heard the news in silence. Then, still smiling, she said she needed to consult the oracle. The old man couldn't help but feel surprised by this strange reference, and asked her what she meant. "It's very simple," she said. "I always consult the oracle. I don't do anything without asking it first, not even a visit or the smallest thing. This is important, so of course I must ask. It'll do whatever it says." "That's odd. What kind of oracle is it?" "It's a secret. But can I give the young man some hope?" "That depends on the oracle." "Oh, come on, you're teasing me." "No, father, not." He had to accept Cecilia's condition, not because her will seemed so strong, but because from her tone and the way she smiled, he realized she had already accepted the suitor she was just playing hard to get. When Leonardo heard Cecilia's answer, he was a bit confused. But Atanasio calmed him down, explaining how he saw it. The next day was when Cecilia would finally give the oracle's decision. Atanasio had made up his mind. If the oracle gave a negative answer, he would still force his daughter to marry Leonardo. Either way, a wedding would happen. On the appointed day, 2 of his nieces showed up at his house. Both were married and hadn't visited him in years. They had stayed away ever since Cecilia had decided to marry Henrique Pays, a choice they had strongly opposed. Cecilia had since made peace with her father, but her aunts had not. Atanasio greeted them with surprise. "What brings you here today?" The nieces bowed their heads. "We've come to ask for your forgiveness. We were wrong." "Oh," he said, surprised. "So you finally admit I was right?" "And it seems there's a new suitor now," one added. "How did you know that?" he asked. "Cecilia told us," the other replied. "Are you here to stop the marriage again?" he asked, crossing his arms. "No," they said in unison. "We're here to support it." Atanasio smiled. "Well, thank God for that. We only want Cecilia to be married, whether to this one or that. That's all we ever wanted, even when we supported the other man." With that, the old man told them everything that had happened and shared Cecilia's latest decision. He also said that today was the day she had chosen to announce the oracle's reply. They all laughed at the idea of a young woman consulting an oracle, but they agreed to wait for her answer. "If the oracle says no," Atanasio asked, "you'll still support me?" "Of course," both nieces replied. Soon after, their husbands arrived. And finally, Leonardo appeared, dressed in a black tailcoat and white tie. It was a far cry from the robes worn by those who once sought the oracles of Delphi or Dodona, but times and places change, and so do customs. While the nieces, their husbands, and Leonardo chatted in the living room, Cecilia remained locked in her room, supposedly consulting the oracle. The conversation naturally turned to the matter at hand. It was nearly 8 o'clock at night when Cecilia finally entered the room. Everyone turned to face her, waiting for her words. Atanasio exchanged polite greetings with everyone, then, half serious and half smiling, he turned to his daughter. "So," he asked, "what did the oracle say?" "Oh, father," the oracle said no. "Then the oracle," Atanasio went on, "is against your marriage to Mr. Leonardo." "That's right." "Well, I'm sorry to say I disagree with the oracle," And since everyone knows who I am, while the oracle remains a complete mystery, what I say goes whether the oracle likes it or not. Oh no. Please no. No? What do you mean no? I'd like to see that. The only reason I agreed to this silly idea was for fun. Never in my life did I intend to obey the decisions of some mysterious oracle. Your cousins agree with me. Besides, I want to know right now what kind of nonsense this is. Gentlemen, let's uncover this so-called oracle. Just then, a figure appeared at the door and said, "No need." Everyone turned to look at him. The figure took a few steps forward and stopped in the middle of the room. He held a piece of paper in his hand. It was the Navy officer I mentioned earlier, dressed in a formal coat and white gloves. "What are you doing here, sir?" asked the old man, clearly furious. "What am I doing? I'm the oracle. I won't tolerate jokes like this. By what right are you here?" Henrique Pays, without saying anything else, handed Atanasio the paper he held. "What is this?" "It's the answer to your question." Atanasio stepped closer to the light, took his glasses from his pocket, placed them on his nose, and began to read the paper. Meanwhile, Leonardo stood with his mouth open, not understanding anything. When the old man reached the middle of the letter, he turned to Henrique, completely stunned. "You, sir, are my son-in-law. With all the blessings of the church. Did you read? And what if this is false?" "Hold on," one of the nephews interrupted. "We were the witnesses. These ladies here were the bridesmaids at our cousin Dona Cecilia B.S. wedding to Mr. Henrique Pays. Old man Pays, the one who got married a month ago in the little chapel of my house." "Ah!" the old man cried out, collapsing into a chair. "Not this too," Leonardo said, trying to slip out unnoticed. Even though he lost the bride in such a silly way, Leonardo didn't lose his job. He told the old man he would try to stay, out of respect for the kindness the old man had always shown him. But fate had other plans for the poor fellow. Just 15 days later, Atanasio fell ill with a terrible sickness and died. The will, written a year before, left nothing at all to Leonardo. As for the business, it had to be sold off. Leonardo received payment for just 15 days of work. The unlucky young man gave the money to a beggar and threw himself into the sea at Icaraí Beach. Henrique and Cecilia, though, live happily, like angels in heaven.
Thank you for listening so far. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like our channel and click the bell to be notified whenever a new book is read. Have you heard of Machado de Assis? Machado de Assis, born in Rio de Janeiro in 1839, is considered one of the greatest writers in Brazilian literature and a master of psychological realism. He was a novelist, poet, playwright, and short story writer whose works explore the complexities of human behavior with irony, subtlety, and deep introspection. Among his most famous novels are Dom Casmurro, which questions truth and memory, and the posthumous memoirs of Brás Cubas, a satirical narrative told by a deceased man. Machado's literature often reflects the contradictions of Brazilian society, addressing issues like race, class, power, and identity in a sophisticated yet accessible style. Despite being born into poverty and facing racial prejudice, Machado de Assis rose to become the president of the Brazilian Academy of Letters and a symbol of literary excellence. His sharp wit and profound observations about society and the human soul make his works timeless and universally relevant. Today, he is recognized not only as a Brazilian icon, but also as a world-class author whose legacy continues to influence generations of writers and thinkers. Machado de Assis shows us that literature can be both elegant and critical, intimate and universal, humorous and profound. His stories remain as powerful and thought-provoking today as they were more than a century ago. Machado is a treasure of world literature, and through his voice, we discover the infinite layers of the human experience.